Hello all. Our conversations today will be covering health and wellbeing topics, our increasing use of therapies and our historical reliance on Big Pharma remedies, the movement to get back to more natural methods and products such as Aloe Vera to support our health, and some real life stories of how we can look after our bodies better as we age. My guests today include two wonderfully qualified and experienced business owners who spend their lives helping us put ourselves back together, showing their clients ways and methods with therapies and products to make life just that little bit easier to bear. My first guest is Marie Hall, an experienced business owner and business development coach with HPM Consultancy Limited and Forever Living Products. She is a passionate advocate of aloe vera and its many uses. Her other passions are on the creative side of things with singing, and she loves her doggies. My second guest is Femke Williams, who is a qualified nurse with a master's degree in health education and promotion and owner of Feet Up Forever Therapies. She has been a winner and more recently a finalist in the North Notts Business Women's Awards for 2019. She's a passionate therapist with so many wonderful therapies up her sleeve. She's also a talented musician, artist, all-round creative, and has recently discovered the joys and love of amateur dramatics. So welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Yeah, lovely. We made it through the traffic this morning. It was a bit challenging, wasn't it? Good. From each direction.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So you've actually got a point of interest and commonality between you on the creative side of things, never mind the therapy side of things. Yeah. So what how did you discover your creative sides? And has it always been with you?
I guess the creative side started a long time ago.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, it was Amdrams that started it many, many years ago, back at school and everything like that. But before doing what I'm doing now, I used to be in the corporate world. Very, very, very stressful job.
Yeah.
And my singing was my release.
It is amazing, isn't it? You know, I've done singing in the past, and it is a therapy in itself, isn't it? And it's actually been proven to be really good for you, isn't it? You know. Yeah. And I know, Femke, I set up a local Amdram company, didn't I, in our local village. That's how I got to know you. And, you know, you were quite reluctant at first, but I kind of dragged you along. And then she actually stole the show. She was actually really sort of frustrated thesp, really, you know.
I've done some amateur dramatics in the past, and when I was at uni.
Yeah. And you are musical as well,
that was 20 years ago,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It was all there all the time, Femke, yeah. Right, okay, so I'm going to open it up. I'm going to start with you, Marie.
Okay.
So my first question is, why do you love aloe vera so much? And frankly, what is it? Because there are some people on the planet who still don't know what aloe vera is. And how can it support your health?
Okay, so my journey to aloe vera is a really strange one, because I started off life, if you like, on my career with the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
So on the dark side, as it were, compared to what I'm doing now.
Crosses everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess I've always known I wanted to help people with their health. Okay. And after my degrees, I thought, what am I going to do? And I sort of strayed into the pharmaceutical industry, not thinking I'd stay, but I did for 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't realise how much it compromised some of the most important things to me, which was my own integrity, my ethical views, my tenacity, etc. Because it's quite, I suppose, cramping in a sense that the pharmaceutical industry, you've got to play by the book.
Yeah. And once they've suckered you in, and they probably give
Absolutely.
you, you know, they pay well as well, don't they? So it's a lot to give up, isn't it?
It is. So I was stuck on this treadmill for 35 years thinking, and it wasn't what I wanted it to be, because I wasn't actually helping people with their health. I was dealing with disease, which is quite the opposite.
Yeah.
In fact,
there's money in disease, isn't there?
But there's money in disease, and that's what compromised my values, because I was constantly, if you like, promoting one product that would counteract the side effects of another product. And I knew...
There's money in that, though, isn't there?
There is money in that. And you see, I'm a physiologist and biochemist, so my start in life knew that we could have cleaner products. But we didn't, because there's money in the fact that they weren't. And this really troubled me an awful lot. So I was constantly searching, and my search basically took me from personal reasons for my own family and friends to look for alternatives, because I didn't believe that drugs and synthetic products were the answer to everything.
It must have been so hard for you towards the end of your career to kind of go into work and feeling, actually, I'm peddling this stuff that I don't even believe in. You know,
that was one of the most difficult things.
Because you were at quite a high level, weren't you?
Very high level. And you're right. I had the golden handcuffs on. I was earning a lot of money. I was in what everybody thought was an absolute
dream job.
Yeah. I had a career. I had responsibilities as a single mum at the time, and thinking, I can't just pack all this in. What do I do? This is all I know. And they called me Mrs. Evidence-Based in the pharmaceutical industry, because that was my way of not compromising my ethics, to make sure I knew absolute everything about the product and that I didn't deceive people through what I was doing. And likewise, I was very, very keen on training other people to do likewise. But within the pharmaceutical industry, you really couldn't. So I was always searching for an alternative. And I guess that alternative took me down various routes of complementary therapy. And it was my Reiki master who introduced me to aloe vera.
Wow.
And I have to say, Ellie, I didn't come into it for the products to begin with, as you can imagine with that background. Yeah. What I came into it was I was also realising by then that I was getting older. Yeah. And I had to think about, I wanted to think about retiring. And after 35 years, when I looked at my pension, I thought, I can't.
You've been sold a pup like millions of other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I'm thinking, I can't retire. What am I going to do? Panic set in. And about that time, my little angel of a mentor came to me and said, what's your plan B? And I went, what plan B? And she went, exactly, what plan B? This is killing you.
Yeah.
And basically she introduced me to Forever Living, which often is called the Aloe Vera Company. Yeah. And that started my journey in aloe vera. And I guess what was really funny was most of my colleagues would then say, definitely gone over to the dark side now. What on earth are you doing?
Yeah, this plant-based product. Yeah. How could that be so terrible?
There's no evidence. Mrs. Evidence-Based has gone to something with no evidence.
You're losing it now. It's time for you to go.
Losing it. So that's what happened. But I guess I found out for myself, and my reply to no evidence was, I am the evidence.
Yeah. I am my own laboratory.
Correct. I saw what aloe did for me, for my family, for my friends, and how it changed our lives. And, the biochemist and the physiologist and me still tried to find, why is this so? But I started to accept, sometimes we don't know why. Yeah. Well, we do, but we don't know all the answers of why. We just have to accept it works
and just go with it. Yeah. So what is the aloe vera plant, and where can you find it other than in a garden centre up the road?
So strangely enough, believe it or not, there are something in the region of 240 aloe plants. Wow. They're not all aloe vera.
Okay. All right.
So aloe vera means the true aloe.
Okay.
There's only about maybe 40, 60 of those.
Still seems a lot.
Still seems a lot. So when you go into the garden centre, they may or may not be aloe vera. They all look the same. Yeah. So they kind of look, what would you say, how would you describe what?
Yeah, they definitely look spiky. They definitely look like they belong in a desert. Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, almost like verging on cacti, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of people think they are a cacti, right? And they're not, because they're actually closer to the lily and garlic family.
Are they really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
And they're not cacti at all, but you're right, they grow in arid.
I know years ago, my nan always had this kind of bushy, spiky plant, and she always used to say, oh, that's my burn remedy. Yeah. And, I was quite used to sort of walking along, and we'd have a burn or a scrape, and she'd just be snapping off which I thought was quite cruel to the plant. And she said, no, it's going to heal itself. And she would pour this gel or squeeze this gel from the plant, or even just leave the leaf as almost sort of like a natural plaster over it. And she said, just leave that for a while till you get home, and it'll take the burn off, or it'll do this, that, and then just leave it. And then she also told me, because I used to suffer a lot from cold sores. Yes. Because obviously my immune system was just, knackered. And she always said, well, just take a little bit off and just rub it on there. And to this day, if I get even a tingle, I'll whack a piece of aloe vera on, and by the morning, it has gone. It stopped it in its tracks.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, aloe vera has been used for over 4,000 years.
Yeah,
So you can find it in the papyruses in Egypt.
It is like nature's healer, isn't it?
It is, and that's one of its names. It's got hundreds of names. The one that's my favourite is what the Japanese call it, because apparently translated it means you don't need a doctor. Which I think is absolutely brilliant.
Let's have them all in the National Health Service.
So combined with therapies.
In every doctor's surgery, there should be aloe vera plants, and do them first before you queue up to see your doctor.
So, yeah, and what you were saying about what your gran said, you know, it's the inside of the aloe, the gel inside, that clear gel inside that does the trick. Yeah. The outside really doesn't have an awful lot of benefit, in fact.
But you can see how it could be used as a protective, you know, in lieu of bandages and stuff. It just keep that on there.
And that's what they used to do. So Alexander the Great fought a war so that he could capture an island where aloe grew.
Really?
Yeah.
So we've had aloe wars.
We have had aloe wars, and that was because that was the only thing that he could use to cure his
sick soldiers in battle and stuff. Yeah, cool.
And they used the aloe to heal wounds.
Well, they had to use natural things, didn't they? I mean, I know the Romans used to, and the Greeks, they would learn to kind of actually just wee on a wound because it was the most sterile liquid, and it would clean the wound, wouldn't it?
So now we know that inside has got enormous quantities, and it benefits us in all sorts of ways, but it's antiseptic like you say. It's antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. Hence the fact it works on your coleslaw.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the best thing ever.
I know, it's incredible. Yeah, I've got some incredible stories of a friend of mine whose daughter loves skiing, and she'd book a week's holiday to go skiing and get maybe 3 or 4 days, and she'd break out in cold sores, and that'd be the end of her skiing. And I sent her off with a pack of all these aloe products, and I got a lovely postcard that said, "Yay, got a whole week skiing done."
Lovely. Yeah, it's hard to explain to somebody how rapid it seems to just cut the progress of the virus, because if you leave it, the virus takes a hold and then it goes it goes nasty, doesn't it? And it takes a week or two to actually heal up. But if you catch it early enough and whack a bit of aloe on it, natural aloe, it literally just arrests its progress. It's amazing. You know?
So there are all these different aloes, as I said. The one with the highest level of what we call medicinal type properties is one called Aloe babadensis vera. Okay, and basically Forever Living grow, we're the largest grower of aloe vera in the world. We grow 2/3 of the world's cultivated aloe, primarily in the Dominican Republic, because it's got that arid climate, and in Arizona as well.
It's a real cash crop there, isn't it? It sustains the economy.
We're the largest, if you like, employers in the Dominican. I don't know whether anybody's been to the Dominican. It's really
next to Haiti, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really, really poor country. A lot of the people there are from Haiti. They've escaped, you know, and come for seeking asylum. And I know when I went there, I didn't know about Forever Living in those days, but when I went there and saw the conditions these Haitians live in, and the other crop that they grow there is sugarcane. And this is going back maybe 10 years or so. And at the time, they were being paid $1 a day.
Yeah, very exploitative, really.
It was horrific to see whole families working in intense heat, and they had to be covered from head to foot because the leaves of sugarcane slice your skin.
I know, it's very sharp, isn't it? I was very, I was very shocked once. I've seen a field of sugarcane, and you were warned not to actually walk through it because you would be lacerated, and it's like, blimey.
And spiders, poisonous spiders, live there.
Do they?
Yeah. And apparently children, whole families have to work to get that $1 a day, to get the amount, to get that $1. And it's really awful. So apparently there's a huge queue to come and work for Forever Living in our aloe plantations. But it's a remarkable plant altogether. And the more I read about it, the more I'm amazed about its many uses. Yeah. So, for instance, I don't know how many people know that we can drink aloe vera.
Yeah, I do. I have done. And that was my introduction.
Yeah, do you now?
That was my introduction to, for years, my dad had IBS issues. And for years, he always had this yellow bottle in the fridge, and that was always Dad's drink. And I remember the first time because I thought, I'm going to check this out, you know. And I remember sneaking a wee drink, and I thought, what the heck is this stuff?
Taste,
It is an acquired taste.
Definitely acquired taste.
And my dad would just glug it. He would literally glug it from the jug. Wouldn't even put it in a glass. He would literally, that was Dad's drink. Dad was the only one drinking it, and he would literally every morning he'd have a chug of this stuff, and it was nearly always in the fridge. I never saw anybody come round with it. He seemed to just appear with it. I think he got it from somebody at work, you know, and he would bring it home with him. So I was very aware of the brand before I even really thought about the products or the efficacy. And I went off to uni and had a life and da-da-da. And then when I had my daughter, that was again the next introduction to the brand because of the lovely creams. She had terrible eczema. So a friend of mine said, oh, I've got some cream at home from Aloe, you know, Forever Living, and it's got aloe vera and it's all natural. And it worked a dream. It really did. So I was aware of this stuff in the background of my life for a number of years. And then myself, I had a few health issues later in life, lots of tummy issues and fertility issues and blah, 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 but really bad tummy aches and things like that. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get IBS like my dad. It must be in the genes or something, you know. And a friend said, oh, you want to be drinking aloe vera juice? And I thought, oh, that stuff. You know,
remembered it
from 20 years ago. Oh, that, of course. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I ordered some, and I just thought amazing. And do you know what? It cut the pain. And the side effects were that my nails were amazing. My hair was, I was like, what's going on with my hair? It's just like growing like the clappers, and it's glossy. My skin, it was like a beauty product. I got all these beauty benefits from, and it must have been all the vitamins and all the, you know, those kind of things that were in it.
It's got all these amino acids, vitamins, etc. in it.
Definitely, I think
we don't get in our diet these days either.
It definitely, I think,
thing.
to do with skin, and epithelial tissue, and things like your lungs and your stomach and your outer skin and stuff like that. It's definitely
it's the lining of the bowels.
It's the lining of the bowels. So it's all skin tissue, isn't it?
So you know, you mentioned immunity. Again, most people don't realise two things. First and foremost, that our gut is the main control of our immunity.
It is, yes.
And it's our gut flora. And aloe works at that level. And like you said, the epithelial tissue level as well. But aloe's prime action is to actually, it's an immune modulator. So it basically modulates your immune system. So anybody with diseases now, I've got severe psoriasis, and I always suffered from it.
How could you have psoriasis? You have the most beautiful skin.
That
is the power of aloe.
It's the power of aloe. Yeah, I suffered from psoriasis for years, and having worked in the pharmaceutical industry, as you can imagine, I tried everything known in the drug industry, in the pharmaceutical industry. Nothing worked. Of course, the more I learnt about it, the more I realised it was an autoimmune condition. And what happened was everything I looked at was topical. Until they
wasn't going
started
from the inside out, was it?
Big guns, and the big guns had serious side effects. So I'm thinking, don't know about this. So I just carried on. But my psoriasis was so bad. I know this sounds gruesome, but every morning I have to change my pillows because I'd be scratching at night to the point that I'd be bleeding.
Oh, bless you.
And it was horrific. And, you know, and I thought, well, you know, people say this helps with psoriasis. Let's try it. So I basically blitzed it with drinking the aloe gel, as you say, as well as using it. Now, the thing you've got to think about is, I guess it's a mind shift. With drugs, people expect an instant result.
It's like a quick fix,
It's a quick fix. And people kind of have come to expect everything you take has an instant result.
Yeah, I'm going to drink it, and by next Tuesday it'll be perfect.
Yeah, or by tomorrow, miracle happens, you know. And if you think about it, your epithelial cells have a 28-day cycle.
I was going to say, it was probably about a month before I saw the results, but when they came in. I mean, it was incredible.
So that's what happened. You know, I just started drinking the stuff, I started using the products itself, and the change has been remarkable. I still get occasional flare-ups, don't get me wrong, but it's made a big, big difference to me. And like your dad, my daughter had severe IBS. Her life, well, by the time she was 20 odd years old, they were suggesting removing a whole section of her gut. and she went days. It so affects your life. These conditions, you know, like psoriasis, like IBS, like so many conditions.
Yeah.
They really hamstring you, don't they?
They do.
You know?
They completely affect all your life. I mean, she couldn't go out with her mates to go for a curry, which she loved, because she couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
Why she spent all the time on the toilet? You know, it's just awful, really.
And you know, in your 20s, you don't want to be having that kind of conversation
But likewise,
with your mates, do you?
you don't want to end up with a section of your gut taken out
that
unless
would
you have
be
to.
really life changing.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, and as I say, when I started looking at Forever, and I said to her, try this, she went, we tried everything, nothing works. And I went, no, we haven't quite tried everything. We haven't tried this.
I mean, the pure, unadulterated. I mean, what is it they say about the Forever drinking gels? It's as good as it's the next best thing to having the real plant, isn't it?
And I mean, the new ones that we've got now
Yeah.
are 99.8%.
That's
And you're right, Ellie, that's the big difference, because there are an awful lot of Me Too's out in the
Yeah.
market. You know, a lot of people haven't heard of aloe vera, but more and more people are thinking, oh, you can even buy tissues with aloe in it. But that's something with a touch of aloe in it. The difference is our products are aloe first and foremost, and then sometimes you've got a touch of something else added to
I mean,
it.
the pure unadulterated one, which let's face
That's
it,
a yellow bottle.
the yellow bottle one, and let's face it, is an acquired taste. But I say to people, it's a natural fresh taste, and you will adjust to that, because I started off with a flavoured one because I was a child, frankly, and but then I found them very sickly in comparison. So I do the plain drinking gel now occasionally, and if I go back to a flavoured one, it's like, oh, it
Sweet
really
and sickly.
feels so sweet. And actually, I prefer the clean, natural taste. And I think, woman up, it's like medicine, isn't it? It's nature's medicine, and just gulp a bit down, and then job done for the rest of the day.
I always tell someone, it's in a shot glass for a reason.
Yeah.
Take it like a shot,
Shot.
and down it
Just
in
down
one.
it,
Don't think
yeah.
about it, don't smell it,
Yeah.
don't taste it, just
Yeah.
down it in one.
Or if at the very least, you know, just follow it with an orange juice or
Yeah.
something like that.
you can, of course, mix it.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, we have other products. So my morning cocktail or shake, because I drink the one with the chondroitin, glucosamine, and MSM, because my joints
as you
are going.
age, because I'm going through a lot of that at the minute. I have terrible arthritis in my
I
right
have.
knee, and I can tell when I don't take my, you know, what's that stuff?
Glucosamine.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
So,
the Freedom one.
Freedom.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Freedom has got the glucosamine, the chondroitin, and the MSM.
Because
all the bits that we no longer make properly as we get older.
when we
basically.
pass 50, you're pretty drying. You are drying up
Yeah.
from inside out, and you need to replace stuff. So that's going back to natural remedies. My nan always had chicken soup on the go. She was always boiling bones. I'm like, why are you boiling bones? It's like, "Bleh." But she said there's stuff in it that's good for your joints, and it's just like folky kind of knowledge that gets passed down. And to this day, I'm always making stock, because I think, well, I'm just, as an insurance policy, I'm going to try and get that stuff inside me. You know?
Well, you see, I wish I'd listened to my gran more, because, I mean, I grew up in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And my gran was really into herbal
I
stuff.
bet, yeah.
And I used to go, ugh, disgusting stuff, you know, wouldn't want to do anything. And she used to use aloe, and I
Yeah.
think back now,
Yeah.
call it aloe, obviously. But I wish I'd listened more, you know, because there's this wealth of knowledge that kind of's gone now.
Do you not find that this natural wealth of healing knowledge tends to be in the receptacle of women?
Yes.
And wiser, older women? It was their role, really, to curate this knowledge.
And to pass it on.
And it wasn't until I'm going to get political now, it wasn't until the church got involved a few centuries ago, and then started burning women at the stake who had this knowledge, that it wasn't passed on as much, was it? And then
Very
then
sad.
medicine came, and again that was masculine and controlled by men, and this kind of innate natural healing knowledge about plants and herbs and the benefits of these therapies that were women to women based, because they were kind of protecting families, that got kind of lost, and it's only now kind of being a resurgent in that kind of idea, isn't it?
And there is a tremendous resurgence, but I mean, in my simplistic mind, I always think the reason why natural remedies work better in many respects is because if you think about your body, it's going to accept a natural product far better than it's going to accept a synthetic version.
For sure.
So one of the things I learned recently, I always thought I was allergic to lanolin.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that you could get synthetic versions of lanolin.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
thought it came from the sheep's wool and
Yes,
stuff.
now that I can use, but
Wow.
synthetic lanolin. However, it's not described any differently on a tube of makeup.
This is why you have to read your labels, folks.
But even if you
Even then.
read it, it's still listed as
It's
lanolin.
not there, yeah.
What
So
a
you don't
minefield
know,
this
or I
is,
don't
yeah.
know. So I've always thought I'm allergic to that. And the other thing also, it's the preservatives that have to go with it.
Yeah.
And I am terribly allergic to all sorts of preservatives,
Yeah.
right? And again, this is the problem. If you use a synthetic version of anything, that has to have a long shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Generally, there's loads of preservatives in it.
Yeah, and it's that if you've got any
Yeah.
sort of sensitivity to these things on your skin, it's
You've
just
had
going to
it.
trigger it, isn't it?
And
Absolutely.
that's what was making me,
Yeah.
my psoriasis certainly worse and worse, because it was the preservatives that were getting to me.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, when you get a clean, natural product, your body accepts it and your body doesn't react to it because
Yeah.
it's all the other things in it.
Yeah, the amino acids and the plant-based. Or plant-based anything is generally better for you,
Absolutely.
isn't it? You know?
Because as I say, I think the body just accepts natural.
It's all the same building blocks,
Yeah,
isn't it? What
absolutely.
they're made up of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not all natural.
Yeah. That's okay. All right, that's lovely. We'll come back to that. But as I say, you know, that sort of yellow bottle is the mainstay of Forever Living products, isn't it? Still
It
today.
is, yes, still
Yeah.
today.
Millions
Except
and
it's
millions.
not in a bottle anymore.
I
Ellie.
know, but it's a
Oh, yeah.
Tetra Pak.
Tetra Pak.
But
Carton and
I have an issue with that as well.
Oh, tell me.
It's not
Because-
plastic lined, is it?
It is plastic lined, and there's only 2 recycling plants in the country that will recycle it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because apparently it's specially made so that it is recyclable.
It is, and they're not. It's slightly disingenuous though, because it is recyclable in the 2 plants in the country that will recycle it or take it. But in our region, most of those will be shipped off somewhere else because they're full. When there's only 2 recycling plants that will take the Tetra Pak, a lot of that gets shipped overseas.
Well, I only found out yesterday with recycling that in Wakefield, the only plastics they recycle are bottles.
Yeah, it's a con, isn't it?
It's a huge con regarding
Yeah.
what is recyclable.
Yeah.
I mean, Forever has invested a phenomenal
I mean,
amount
it
of
is
money
it is in
into-
the right direction, but you know, it's our own government that need to step up and say,
Absolutely.
"Come on, we need to kind of deal with this." You know, deal with
But
it.
again, it's money, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no money in doing that.
Yeah.
It just costs.
Yeah,
And
so-
that's the problem with recycling. But I mean, they have invested this in, because I mean, Forever's whole policy about being green and the carbon footprint and how your well, one aloe plant is equivalent to God knows how many trees in
Sure.
terms of what it takes out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean,
and stuff, but they
you
try
know,
really
they're
hard.
trying their best,
Yeah.
and compared to other big corporations,
Yeah.
I mean, they're along that road, aren't they?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, Femke, you've been
Hi.
sitting lovely and quietly in the corner.
Listening.
I know,
Very
it's
interesting.
fascinating stuff, isn't it? So my second question is directed at you: is why do you think we need therapies, and what do you personally think can help be the most effective therapy for our well-being, especially when we're aging? So what?
So, well, I think we actually have quite a few things in common, really,
definitely.
because I am also a Forever Living business owner.
Excellent.
But I am promoting the products and I use them within my practice as well. But I'm not actively out there selling the product, but I do order them and use
So
them
you
within
use
my
them
practice.
within your therapy.
So yeah, and I also used to work in the pharmaceutical industry.
Did you
as
really? I
well.
did not know
Really?
that, Femke.
Yeah.
Goodness, we have so much in
Yeah,
common.
I did not know that.
Because my background is in nursing,
Yeah.
and then I went on to study at uni to do health education, health promotion,
Yeah.
and ended up in clinical trial research.
Ah.
So I did that for a bit.
See,
in
we're not
Holland,
worthy, Femke. You use
where I'm
all
from.
these skills, all these talents come out the woodwork.
Oh,
you know?
not
Yeah.
at all. Anyway, so yeah, I moved to Scotland because I met my now husband. And that's why I went back to nursing, then worked in clinical trial research as well in Scotland for a little while within a contact centre. And there as well, I was just introduced to, the way the pharmaceutical industries work and all the fact that it's all about, medication and side effects and another medication.
It's about
for that
money.
and
It's a money-making
Absolutely.
organisation.
Yeah,
Big
so-
Pharma is about money.
And then, of course, other priorities, family life, went back to nursing, and then the frustration of being a nurse and not having time for people, you know, just running around,
Why do you go
dishing out tablets.
Why do you go into nursing? It's mostly because you're motivated to help people, hands-on, and care.
Helping people to make feel better, you know, getting better. That's what you want to see when you're nursing. And I mainly worked in care homes, so with the elderly and obviously the aging process and seeing what happens there. And I mean, I guess our main aim in life is really to find balance, to find harmony, to find a sense of well-being. That's what we're always after. But of course, as we're aging, I mean, aging it's the natural plan, isn't it? It's going to happen.
It is, but I think our generation, because I'm a young baby boomer. I'm on the young end of the baby boomer generation. We're not really accepting growing older.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we don't like it. I'm going to kind of push those barriers back. And
It's
a very sort of, the outer appearance is very vital. We want to still look vital and still of the world of work and to be respected, and we don't want to show any wrinkles. I mean, we really should be celebrating the fact that it's a natural process and you're going to get wrinkles, and you've earned those wrinkles.
I know,
That's
actually a privilege.
It's like a life plan of what, you know, where you've been in life. It's all written on your face.
No, everybody needs to grow.
But you forget.
Yeah.
And some of my friends, you know, they're constantly having their skin hoiked up and injected with this, and, you know, that's their choice. If it makes them feel better, that's great. But they need to understand that their bodies are still aging. You know?
What I think is sad is you're right. Our society is very much into that, but we want the quick fix, and we want somebody else to do it for us rather than take responsibility.
Become very dependent on
Absolutely.
others saying, I have to go to the doctor because the doctor will have to tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of listening to your own body, we've lost that ability
Healing
to
from
actually
the inside out.
you
know.
of being this innate knowledge, and then when you go to the doctor and go, you know, something's not right, my body's not working like it should do, and then they go through a checklist, and then I've actually had a doctor say to me in the past, oh, you've had 7 years medical training, have you? And it's like, well, no, you are obviously a well-trained technician, for want of a better word, highly trained professional, but this is my body and this does not feel normal to me, you know, and this is what you fight against sometimes, isn't it? Especially when you want to do an alternative therapy, or sometimes the doctor won't have understood what that is because that's not in their training even, is it?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting a lot more open to it now. I do get
definitely younger doctors are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, aging, like I say, it's a natural plan. The body slows down. You know, we become weaker, obviously, as we get older. But it doesn't necessarily have to be an indication that there's anything wrong. Yeah, you know. Aches and pains, yes, we will get them, but often it's on all levels, isn't it? Health is not just physical.
No.
So if we're feeling that we're getting all these physical ailments, it may have to do with something mental or emotional that you're going through. I mean, and life is happening to us all the time.
Whatever pain you've got, if you're feeling down or depressed or you've got any mental issues, your aches and pains seem to take on a magnitude, don't they? They don't.
Exactly.
They become the focus, don't they?
That is what happens. It becomes like a bit of a depressing, self-fulfilling cycle, really, where basically, and especially I've seen this with people within care homes, you know, having to move away from their own homes, you know, completely different environment, not having their own stuff anymore.
Yeah,
a lot of it,
it's a loss of control.
It's a loss. So there's, you know, fatigue sets in. There's less money. They might end up with a poor diet because it's all different from what they were used to. They're not cooking themselves. Loneliness, and then you get boredom, indifference. You know, and people just feel like they're getting a bit separated from their own families and maybe from the world as well. Yeah. And then you get this self-fulfilling cycle where really you have excessive worry over minor aches and pains.
Sure.
And then you get stress out of that. And then stress weakens the immune system even further, which the immune system weakens anyway as we're getting older.
Sure.
And I think this is where these therapies can really step in.
Absolutely.
Where you're looking for some self-care, you know.
I think we had a chat about this in the way up here, didn't we? And I said, I don't ever remember my granny having therapy. I wrote a blog piece once that said, I never saw my granny in a tracksuit. Or no, sorry, I never saw my granny in Lycra. Mm-hmm. You know, because she walked everywhere. You know, she just naturally walked way more than I do even at the moment. And that was like nature's way of keeping her kind of ticking over and her joints naturally moisturized and things like that. Yeah. And and also she wouldn't have been the generation to talk about her issues. She wouldn't have done cognitive behavior therapies. But it wasn't talked about. I don't ever remember growing up and anybody saying, I'm just nipping off for a therapy now.
No.
Because it was always assumed that it was like a mental thing.
Exactly, it was a bit of a taboo.
To look after their bodies more.
I think
so. In a preventative way, even though they didn't know that.
Because they couldn't afford the doctor's fees.
Exactly. Where I grew up.
They just got on with
it.
They were moving a lot more as well, though.
Yes.
You know, as they were older.
They were more physical.
Walking more. And
well, if you look at, I've seen documentaries where you look at the developing world and there are older people working in fields. They're probably in their 80s. Some are in their 90s. Some of these countries out in Asia and stuff, and they're as fit as fiddles, and they're going to go on till they're 120.
My gran was 102.
Well, you've got those genes then.
My aunt will be 100 in April next year.
Wow. Yeah.
So hopefully it's in the genes.
It's built in that resilience.
It's really what you focus on as well, isn't it? Whatever you give your attention. So all these minor aches and pains, if you're constantly focusing on that, you're going to get more of it. And you're going to be thinking,
pain.
I'll look it up online.
Pain is there for a reason.
Maybe I've got this, and it's all this. You're getting overwhelmed with information, and you're getting stressed.
And my GP surgery in the village, there's, I think they copied it from the internet. There is actually a little sign. It's a bit tongue in cheek that said, "My knowledge trumps Google's any day." Because they must come in and people have been like armchair doctors and they've Googled their ailments and they've come back and they've got like some weird tropical disease that they're never ever going to get, and it's just like you're reading these things and you're assuming these symptoms and you're symptom spotting and you're putting two together and making six, so I think there's a bit of that. There is a lot more general knowledge about anatomy, and I mean, don't forget, it was the preserve of these doctors, wasn't it, years ago? Because it was power, it was knowledge. Excuse me. And anatomy. I mean, if we think back in history, to even see a dissection or the use of a cadaver, I mean, that went against the church's teaching, didn't it? So the early doctors and the early surgeons had to kind of do this by stealth. They had to kind of find out about the human body by kind of small degrees, really, didn't they? But I'm thinking in terms of, so there is this plethora of information available on Google and stuff about our bodies, but you ask the average Joe in the street to name parts of the body, and people don't even know where their liver is, and what kind of damage, what their lifestyles and their drinking and eating habits can damage their internal organs, and it seems to be a complete wake-up to them.
But you see, this is what I'm saying, that people seem to have handed over control of their bodies to somebody else. It's one thing about delegation and passing it on, but this is ridiculous. They don't take responsibility for self, and they don't bother to find out. They only want to find out when it's happened rather than prevent it.
And the thing is, our youth of the first generation with all fast foods and fast drinks, and it's been, a meal, as you drive in your car. I mean, I lived in the States and I used to go to drive-in McDonald's, drive-in fast food chains. You didn't even have to get out your car. You literally spoke into a microphone, then went to a little booth. It was handed over to you, and you could just park up and eat it in your car, and then you would drive off. And they even had things like drive-in banks. I mean, you literally, it's such a car culture in America. You don't even actually have to walk. In fact, they make it impossible to walk. They don't encourage it.
Pavements up.
And you can get fined for walking, which I thought was hilarious. I got told off by a policeman once for what they call jaywalking. Which sounds kind of rude, really, but it's like, seriously, I'm a Brit. I walk everywhere. They go, not on this sidewalk. You can't walk. Can't walk. It's incredible, isn't it? I had a mother-in-law once. I lived in rural Massachusetts, so it wasn't an urban area at all. And I wanted to go and see my sister-in-law at the time. She was 300 yards away. And I set off down the driveway, and my then mother-in-law said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm just going off to see Julie." She goes, "You're walking?" This was on a country road. I said, "Well, obviously." She says, "That's what we have cars for." And I'm like, seriously, I'm not going to get the car out for a 300-yard walk. I'm just going. And she goes, "Oh, we just don't do it here. This is not the done thing. I'm like, well, I'm a Brit. I'm not an American, so I'm going, So there's all that, isn't there, I think, as well. So modern life can conspire against us.
It's the way that you were brought up, obviously, as well. I mean, if you had, like you say, your grandma, and you wish you'd listened more, and you would have had more knowledge in that way. But it's just, growing up, your beliefs, your values, the friends that you make, then your core beliefs may stay, but they may change as well, and it just depends on.
I'm very grateful to
choices in life.
My parents growing up. I mean, I am the child of the 60s and 70s, and like the E numbers that were in food in the 70s is like nobody's business. I mean, I don't know how I wasn't stunted with my growth, with all the E numbers in these exotic new foods that came into the market, which we thought were marvellous. Dream topping. When you look at the constitutes of dream topping, it's revolting stuff, really. And fast foods
overload.
and all the sugar overloads, but it was the additives as well, and the colours. Day glow, like radioactive colours, and we lapped it up, all that stuff from SodaStream initially.
SodaStream.
But they've had a revival.
I know.
Because of the carbon dioxide that they put into water now. So they're using their devices but repurposing them, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm grateful to my parents for encouraging us to eat lots of vegetables. I mean, my friends would hardly eat any vegetables, and the stuff would be out of a can. And a packet, like packets smashed with canned vegetables. I mean, thank goodness my parents were like a bit more savvy, and they'll go, no, we're having stuff we've grown in our garden, or, you've got to eat your 3 vegetables on your plate every meal, things like that.
But there's definitely a shift taking place where people are a lot more aware through education and within schools as well. They're talking a lot
foods,
more about looking after yourself and healthy foods and
veganism.
My children now are actually trying to educate me about what I put in front of them sometimes, and even though I know as well, but sometimes
aren't they
it's just ease, isn't it? I'm guilty to that as well, as long as it's
so
all in moderation.
They're so evangelical. Sometimes they've got this knowledge from school and they come back and you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
But it is
I've got a grandson now, and my daughter's going, you can't give him this, that and the other, and I'm thinking, well, you didn't turn out too bad.
Yeah, exactly. I caught my dad once feeding my daughter hard-boiled sweets, and I went absolutely ape at him, and I said, that's just pure sugar, Dad. I'm trying so hard to make sure she doesn't have rotten teeth. Well, it never did you any harm. I said, yes, it did, Dad. I've got a mouthful of cavities because I used to chow down lots of sweeties that you gave me as a child. Because it's just a little treat. I said, yes, I know it is, and I'm not being too horrible about it. But you're training her that's a sign of love, and she's associating sugar with love, isn't she? And sugary treats. And I was always treated, if I passed my exams and stuff, it'd always be a sugary treat. It'd always be cake-based or sugar-based. It wouldn't be go to the cinema or, some alternative. It would be sugary food-based snacks that would be used as treats, So I didn't want to lay into him too much, but he would do it on purpose after that. He would don't tell your mother.
The thing is, you see, I think we all did our best, didn't we?
Yeah, we're trying.
When I think about it.
With the awareness that we had at the time the knowledge and, you got to stop blaming your parents at one point.
Yeah, you do.
Because they did do their best.
Interestingly enough, what you said earlier about reading the label, I think to myself, the stuff that I used to put on my daughter's skin,
I know.
But I didn't know any better. And you kind of believe the big marketing companies,
and I think there's a lot of instances of skin cancer in my family, and I have that kind of skin. And when I think back to the 70s, we did not have the same knowledge. And I remember as a child just laying on the bed from holidays in Cornwall, burnt to a crisp and being slobbed with something called calamine lotion, which is this sort of chalky-based thing to take the heat out. Now, the sun damage that I have that is starting to come out in my skin now, it was from back then. Because from the 80s onward, I've always been quite vigilant about my sun creams and bits and pieces. But that first initial sun damage was from childhood. And that's where skin cancer actually, it starts from these episodes. And it can take many decades to manifest.
So you've hit another passion of mine now. Because again, a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. I'm absolutely horrified these days how people are still very ignorant about protection in the sun.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I go around and I'm recently, just last Sunday actually, I was sort of out doing a stall, and there were children. None of them had any form of sun protection on.
And no little
And
T-shirts and hats and
nothing.
things. Oh, wow.
Absolutely nothing. And they said, oh, the sun's not that strong.
Oh, it
and I
is,
said, you know what? I don't go out any day, cloud or whatever, without some degree of sun protection.
Yeah.
And that's because, like you, Elliot, I had years of damage to my skin, which God knows where it's going to lead me.
Yeah. It's
I didn't
later
know
on,
any
isn't
better.
it? Yeah.
And it's like, you know, when you talk to people, again, it's the big marketing thing where I'm thinking, do you really know when you read that label what that does?
Yeah.
Oh, it's factor 50.
What does
What
that
does
mean?
that mean?
Yeah.
And people don't know. Oh, it's got to be good, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
I
Because
mean-
they say so in the adverts.
I mean, my husband will kind of, if he'll see me with the spray bottle and it will remind him he needs to put stuff on. So he'll do a quick squirt in front of me. It's a thin layer. And then he thinks he's protected all
Yeah.
day. And I say, actually, love, you do need to top this up. You
Yep.
can't just rely on that. And he goes, oh, yeah, but that's because you've got dodgy skin. I said, we've all got dodgy skin. You know, actually, it's not just the stuff you can feel on your skin. It's these invisible rays that are really permeating and damaging quite deeply into our skin. So there's that side of things. The other thing I was wanting to talk to you, Femke, was about the types of therapies that you personally get involved in.
So I think if we're talking about the aging population, I think a lot of people, like I said, they are becoming a lot more aware of aches and pains and what else is influencing them and what's stressing them out. And, you know, people come to me as well to say, I really want to get off these antidepressants because they make everything so superficial, you know.
Or they numb you so much.
They numb you, nothing's real anymore.
You're not really experiencing life. You're not... Yeah, it's taking the edge off the lows, but you're not experiencing any highs or joy either. It's sucking the life force out of you, isn't it?
So I do offer a range of therapies, or, well, you can call them techniques, maybe, if people don't like the word therapy. Because it's not like you're in therapy. It's really that we're just looking to have this balance and create some harmony and, you know, realign, just to rebalance ourselves because we're constantly thrown out of balance because of... Well, work-life balance, family, any other worries.
I mean, what I found was, because I came across you once I'd moved up north, and at the time, my whole system was out of wacko. I had a lot of fertility issues, didn't I? And I came to you for reflexology.
Reflexology, yeah.
Because I had a spell of training as a reflexology once I'd left teaching. And because I'd had reflexology before, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. And I was always good at biology, and I thought I'm going to see a bit more about my own body, and I really liked reflexology, and I thought, no, I could. That sounds really interesting as a transition from work to kind of an interest and something I can do to help people. I mean, we've all, in our own ways, we're all doing things to help people, aren't we? And so I trained as a reflexologist, and I had my own practice and stuff for a little while down south, and I really, really loved it. And then when I moved up north, I decided I wasn't going to carry on with it. I was going to do something else. But I thought, no, I feel I want to carry on with this, but I'm going to let somebody else do my feed. And I came across you because I thought you were so well qualified and you'd be so knowledgeable about the body and stuff. And you had a really beautiful touch. And I always used to say to my clients, it was reflexology is one of those, it's gentle but powerful. It's like an oxymoron. You know, it can shift energy, but unlike, say, sports massage or something where they really getting in there and they're kind of massaging your muscles and all the rest of it, it seems kind of really too gentle to kind of do anything productive, but it was kind of cumulative. And after a few weeks, you know, things were shifting and you could feel it in my body. And you also kept highlighting key areas of my body where the energy was stuck. And then later on, when I had surgery, lo and behold, those areas, you know, they were diseased. And you were feeling it months and months and months beforehand. So it is fascinating to me how touch therapies, we seem to respond very well as human beings to touch, don't we? And it's been proven that, you know, plants thrive by being touched. They're quite sensual things, really. They stimulate the growth hormone. And it's
It
the same
is,
with
yeah.
human beings. It
It's-
stimulates something in the human.
All on an energetic level,
Energetic
really.
level,
It's
doesn't
the
it?
energy imbalance that we're
Yeah.
feeling in our energy bodies.
Yeah.
That's where things kind of get stuck.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all on a subconscious level. Might not even be aware of it.
Yeah.
What it is that's actually, you know, stopping us in our tracks, or
Yeah.
causing all that brain fog,
I
or
know.
just feeling overwhelmed all the time, or
Yeah.
because things just become really unclear, and
Yeah.
you know, and then you become stressed.
So
and then
what actually, for people who've maybe toyed with the idea of having something, what actually is reflexology in its sort of modern form in the UK? Because there are different forms. Like I know in Asia they tend to use reflexology where they use sticks, and it's
Yeah.
very it's powerful.
Mhm.
It's painful.
It's painful. I don't really believe in no pain, no gain. I don't really think you need to be poking and prodding, and it's really, light touch is actually much more effective because it is all about energy. So it's intuitive as well. You know, you really kind of end up tuning into somebody's energy with Reiki as well, with any of the other massage even
So for
as
people
well.
that don't know,
But-
because there are again some people that don't know what Reiki is, just very quickly, can you
Yes, so
briefly
Reiki
say
is-
what Reiki is?
Yeah, so that's energy healing. So it really translates as universal energy. And as a Reiki facilitator, practitioner, you really just channel that energy
Yeah.
to help to unblock any imbalances within our energy centers. So we have 7 main energy centers. There's a lot of minor ones as well, but we mainly focus on the main ones, and some become overactive, some become underactive, and it's all about realigning so that you have a sense of well-being
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
feel like things start to flow again. And it's all about, the same with reflexology, bringing about this state of deep relaxation.
It was very
So-
calming. I mean, I know when I used to do my own clients, they would get a point, maybe after 2 or 3 sessions, that their brains would realise that they weren't going to be doing any harm to, and their bodies would literally get
Yeah.
into a very deep state of
It
calm
just
very quickly.
drops everything,
People
just
would be
relaxes.
snoring their heads off, and
Yeah.
they'd be mortified when they were. I said,
Fall
"Well,
asleep.
you gave a good one there." I said, it was really loud, and they were mortified that they were snoring. I said, that's a good sign. That means you were really out of it, you know.
Yeah. But that's where the healing takes place.
Yeah.
You know, if you actually give your body a chance to
Yeah.
Heal
catch
itself.
up.
It's
And
usually
it heals
rest, isn't it?
itself,
That's
yeah.
what animals do in the wild. When they're injured, they just lay low and they just rest and sleep and just let the magic of their bodies kind of just... I mean, our bodies are so amazing. They're the most sophisticated machine ever produced, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
Because they can actually heal themselves if we get out the way of it.
Yes.
So reflexology, it works the reflexes in the feet. There's about over 7,000
They are literally the nerve endings, aren't
in
they?
the feet. So
Yeah.
you're working all these points. They are actually also acupuncture
Yeah.
points, but it's acupressure.
Yeah.
So you're using the hands and thumb walks and things,
Yeah.
and you work the whole foot. So it works the whole body because you find all the organs and all the systems back on the foot. It's like a mini map
Yeah.
of your whole body.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps to.
You see, I love energy work because to me, even as a scientist, I can relate to that because we're all just basically energy.
It
in
is. I
some
mean, I'm
form
an
or
engineer
other.
by training, and if you talk to me about quantum mechanics
Yes.
and things and quantum energy,
Yes.
I get it, you know, because we're all atoms and it's all electromagnetism coming out of our bodies that's naturally produced. I mean, as a child, I don't know if you ever used to do that trick where you used to rub your hands together and then kind of close your eyes and you'd kind of play with the electromagnetism that was coming off your hands, and you could almost play with it like a little ball. And you think, my gosh, and if you get attuned to finding the energy within your own body, and then that's what Reiki is, basically, you then just laying of hands. This
I love
transference
Reiki
of that,
because
yeah,
for me,
absolutely.
Reiki, like you say, you're a channel.
Channel
But
is
the
just-
beauty of it is whenever I do Reiki, I feel I'm getting the benefit of it myself.
Yeah, you said
And I
that.
absolutely adore that.
Yeah, because people say to me, does it not drain you? You know, you're picking up on all these imbalances in
Like you've got
my
an
body
antennae
and-
somewhere.
And I'm like, I'm picking up on
On the good
yeah,
bits.
any disruptions and things
Yeah.
like that. But then I just focus on that area and we aim to realign it. You
It's like-
balance it out. So yeah, it doesn't tire you out.
No, it's like
It's-
tuning into
no.
Universe FM, isn't it? You know?
Yeah,
I love it.
absolutely. It's like a radio station, isn't it?
I'm a late devotee of Reiki. I kind of shied
Frequency.
away from it for quite a while. I don't know why. probably because I didn't understand it properly. And then I had a few sessions with another therapist down south, and it was so hard to describe to other people what the feeling was like. It was this kind of whooshy feeling, and you could feel stiff stuff, literally little tingles of energy running through your body. And I know you've felt that when you've had some sessions with me in the past, and and I've actually felt the heat from your hand. It's quite unnerving sometimes, very comforting, quite, especially when it's around the head and the face. It's actually, it's lovely. It's like a little heated pillow around your face. It's lovely. But you can feel that heat travelling down your body, and it's a bit unnerving at first, but afterwards you think, well, it's actually very pleasant,
You see, again, we're talking about therapies that have been used for thousands and thousands of years and still do get used. I mean, I was quite astounded in Hong Kong talking to a friend of mine who was going into China for a major operation. They don't really do anaesthetics. They use acupuncture for major surgery.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And, I'm thinking, my God, that's mind-blowing. If you introduce that here, people would probably freak out.
They would.
Yeah.
But the power of it and the confidence these people have and the lack of side effects because of it.
Yeah, and their healing would be much quicker afterwards.
Much quicker. Yeah. And, I think full circle, isn't it? People are coming back to realising that there is an awful lot in natural healing and energy work and all the rest of it.
Do you feel that there are like big businesses jumping on the back of some of these complementary therapies and trying to monetize it in a way that it hasn't been in the past? They're trying to, what am I trying to say here? Are they trying to kind of jump on the back of its sort of proposed benefits? And are they trying to kind of do more synthetic products, but give it with a sort of an overlay of a complementary therapy or a greenness? They call it greenwashing, don't they, with some products and things?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that going on.
There is.
In the background, we both know what the pharmaceutical industry do. Basically, they've got the money to push out anything they don't like the look of.
Oh, right. Okay.
And they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody's watched or read The Constant Gardener, my friend gave me the book. And
I've heard about this. I don't know what it's about.
You've got to read the book.
I've got to now. No,
but
you said it on air. I've got to do it.
Essentially, what it is about the power of pharma.
Yeah.
And how they can actually suppress. And horrible as it sounds, I've been a part of that suppression.
Right.
Where they can suppress what they don't want to see. So, for instance, if they feel a natural product or a natural form of healing could actually interfere with their sales of a product, they will find a way.
They hide it from us.
Well, they hide it, but they'll obfuscate it, and then they'll try and rubbish.
Correct.
They'll rubbish
whatever they do, they
properties.
damage that so that you can never get through. And of course, when you're dealing with natural products, when you're dealing with natural forms of healing, you don't have that huge amount of money like they have.
And they always clobber complementary therapies by saying, but you haven't done any blind trials.
Yes.
In a blind trial,
there's no scientific
yeah.
proof.
But you've been at the end of a
works
clinical trial and you know what can and can't happen in a clinical trial. I mean, that was one of the first things that's horrified me regarding pharmaceutical trials. Because I was, as I say, I was a scientist to begin with. Yeah. I just didn't want to spend my whole life in research because that wasn't me. I'm a people's person.
Sure.
Stuck in a lab was not my thing. But I thought, my God, how can you call some of these trials? They're completely biased towards what you want to find. Yeah. Yeah. And ethics-wise, what they did, I'll never forget. I mean, people use statins all the time now, but I was involved in one of the first trials that introduced statins to this country. And essentially, it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial with the endpoint being death. And after 4 or 5 years, they knew there was a difference, but they did not stop the study.
I got my mother off statins. I said, have you, mother, got a heart condition? No. Why have you been diagnosed with statins? Why have they prescribed statins? Oh, for my blood pressure. I said, your blood pressure is something completely different. I said, get off those statins. I said, please get off them. I said, because the side effects for you, if you do not have a heart condition, outweigh the benefit of being on it.
See, the big problem there, and I don't want to go into bandwagon or soapbox or whatever, but the problem with statins is, I'm sorry, but most people don't really understand what they're dealing with that. Certainly not even in the medical profession. And it's probably because we did too good a job in the pharmaceutical industry of brainwashing them into what it is. And there is a place for them, don't get me wrong. There is a place for them, and it can be life-saving.
I believe if you have a heart condition and a serious heart condition, there is a place for them.
There is a place for them. But you're right. I mean, this is where I think medicine's completely lost it, because they don't outweigh the benefits versus the risks anymore. And they they're supposed to, but they don't, because it's like, oh, hang on a minute, what are we trying to prevent? So I've got an aunt who's nearly 100, and they're trying to prevent a heart attack. And I'm thinking...
it's a bit caught behind the door, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like she hasn't got a heart condition. Yes, she's got risk factors, but at 100, the side effects she's likely to get from all this medication... And I really had to fight with the doctors, some of them my family members, because they're doctors, and saying, what the hell are we doing? Why are we doing this to her?
I mean, that opens up a whole level of debate, doesn't it?
It does. And I think, when you're talking about medication, I mean, like you say, there is a place for certain medications, and a lot of people do benefit greatly from medications. Everything has improved a lot as well, and certain
we're not
surgeries
saying
and
just
things. The orthodox medicine obviously has its place, but it needs to be a balance between both, doesn't it?
And I think it's encouraging.
Before people get diseased.
I think it's encouraging that the BMA were told by the government, I think it was a couple of years ago, that they had to start working alongside complementary therapies, because we have an ageing population in the UK or across the West, and the GP surgeries can't cope as it is. So to kind of offload a lot of the stress and the anxiety issues that a lot of people are it's very common that people, the root of some of their ailments is stress and anxiety. So to kind of nip that in the bud, they need to be having dialogues with local complementary therapists, and just understand and respect that there is a role for both of you in the same place, isn't there?
But you see, again, the government, like you say, brings a whole level of debate, but until it becomes available on the NHS, you'll always get people saying, but hang on a minute. I mean, the classic one, this was a case of eczema, actually, a child with severe eczema whose parents had tried supposedly every drug that they could try. And this child, bless him, was just really ill. And they came to ask me about it. And when we talked about it, she was saying, oh, but I have to pay for that. This is free.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking... hello, it's free, it doesn't work. Isn't it time you tried something else?
The mindset, like you say.
It's a mindset.
But a lot of people end up not actually getting the benefit of the medication when they are poorly. Because gut health, poor diet, fatigue, not moving enough. The absorption is actually not happening, so they don't get the real benefits of the medication. And, this is another reason why reflexology can help, because on a very basic level it helps with improving circulation.
Definitely.
Circulation, it helps with regulating your body temperature, it helps with getting nutrients and oxygen to all the cells of your body, to the brain.
And I would say
it helps with eliminating
definitely eliminating. The amount of times I had to run to the loo after your sessions.
Blood flow, lymph flow, getting rid of any waste products.
Definitely.
And and it helps obviously if that all works better. You're getting more benefit from any medication that you may be taking.
Round this off then, the pair of you, what kind of things very snappily could you suggest to people to help support their health and wellness if they're starting to get to an age where they think, I've actually got to do something? What's a good starting point for them?
Well, I think it's just if they feel that they need to do something that they want to do for themselves, to help themselves, to look at self-care and to look at where is it that I want to have some improvements within my life. Is it mentally? Is it emotionally? Do I need to do some emotional healing? Do I need to look into why am I having these aches and pains? And I suppose...
But people have got to be prepared to kind of peel the layers, haven't they? Because, like you say, some people's ailments actually stem from a lot of feelings and hurt feelings from a long time ago.
All these different changes that will be happening in their lives, like if they lose their home, if they have to move into a care home, it just, it can bring up a lot of disruption, but it may stem from something that happened a long time ago, and it's now affecting their life again on the energetic level. And when they become aware of that, they can.
Terrific. And with you, Marie, what would be your kind of top tip to kind of get started, to kind of think about your wellness?
I think the top tip I would say, and it's a leaf out of my own book, is to take responsibility for self.
Be a grown up.
Yes, be a grown up, and not to sort of pass on that responsibility to, say, a doctor or whatever, without saying, actually, I need to take responsibility about it. I need to look at what I, as you say,
I'm
Femke,
doing.
what I'm doing to myself,
What are my
or
habits?
what I have done, and then seek help. But don't be open-minded. That's the other thing. People are not open-minded as much as they should be, so they don't look at alternatives. And that's it.
Terrific. That's lovely. So I'd just like to say thank you, both of you, for your time today exploring what you do. There will be links for people to contact you for further information, but thank you. I really appreciate it. I'd love to chat to both of you again. And we could have chatted for another couple of hours here, honestly.
Yes, we could.
And I'm sure our listeners would get a lot of benefit from your combined knowledges. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.